So it's my great pleasure to introduce the artists panel. Please take your seats, everyone. Okay. So I want to start by just mentioning that a very respected elder and matriarch in the Yukon, Ida Calmagain, died a few days ago. So she's from Carcross, Tagish, and this has had a big impact on her community. So I would just like everybody to just come, please take your seats. Everyone at the back, please take your seats. So just a moment of respect to honor the elder Ida Calmagain, who died recently. She was in her 90s. She was a very well-respected elder who had taught many, many people in her community. So talking about passing on your traditions and your teachings. And so that has been a big blow to all of her community and the many, many people who were related to her and who learned from her. So because of Ida's passing, one of our panelists, Megan Guna Jensen, is not with us today. She just felt that she couldn't leave her community at this difficult time and was grieving. And for that reason also, the Dakakwan dancers who were going to be performing this evening are also not going to be coming because they just couldn't do a celebratory dance with this recent death. So I just wanted everyone to be aware of that, and it's something that we will be mentioning tonight as well at the celebration evening. But I'm very happy that we have our two artists and artist moderator with us today. So Erin Corbett to my immediate left. They are an artist, an arts administrator, and are also the social media manager for the Yukon Prize. So I've had the pleasure of working with them for the last several months and really enjoying their posts. So thank you so much, Erin, for all of the support and help that you're giving us and for moderating this panel.
You're welcome, Julie. It's been a pleasure. Welcome, everybody, to the Artists in Conversation panel. Here we have Adad Hannah and Leslie Leong. And today's panel, we're really looking at, how do we have a sustainable practice, or tips that they might have, or how do we juggle, keep our motivation going and balance creativity and financial realities. And so I'd like to introduce Adad Hannah. Adad, you have a practice that's really been, focused, many different things, but tableau vivant has been a big part of your practice since the early 2000s. And you're really looking at the kind of the blur of photography, performance, video. And you're also a member of the Board of Trustees for the National Art Gallery. Yeah. It is true. Yeah. And then, and then Leslie. Leslie, your art practice, for those of you who don't know, is working a lot with recycled, upcycled, salvaged materials, and really looking at global issues, sustainability, environment, technology. And you're just back from an artist residency in the spring. Was it the spring?
That was actually 2024.
Oh, 2024, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, you just had a talk then recently. Oh, anyways, sorry. You're doing a lot of things. Yes, Mike. But you were in Sagarmatha next, participating as an artist in residence, where you were working with waste around around Mount Everest in Nepal.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm excited, and I kind of want to just start off with a question around what does a successful art practice look like to you?
Okay. For me, it's just being able to respond to the state of, society and the planet, and still, both physically and financially have that in place so that I can respond to that and have the space to create art. So to me, that's what it is to me. I don't know what it looks like from the outside, but yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
I suppose for myself, to be able to support yourself as an artist is like, I always feel very fortunate when I guess I've straight out of art school, I've always supported myself as an artist, I guess. Well, sometimes with like student loans also, or like a scholarship for my PhD. But I've always been good at kind of scaling my lifestyle. So when I lived for many years on $10,000 a year and got by, rent was cheaper back then. I didn't always have a lot of money, but just being able to, I was curating sometimes, writing about art, being an assistant to other artists. But as long as I was, like working in the art milieu, I felt satisfied, I guess. So that was for me. And then, any success I've had since then has been icing on the cake. But the main thing was to stay in that,
In the milieu.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm curious, actually. So now that we have like a bit of an idea of what success looks for you, like what does your daily art practice look like? And I know, we've read books, so we're like, oh yeah, we should work a little bit every day on our art practice. But what does it actually look like?
Sure. You want me to go first this time?
Yeah.
Well, the one funny thing I always find, so young artists often come up to me and are like, oh, I hope to be in your situation one day where I can just like be in the gallery and just think about what I want to do all day and just, really take 8 hours and just sit around and think. And I'm like, oh, you have no idea. So obviously the more success you have, the more projects you have going on, the more admin you're doing. So I'm doing, like 2-3 hours a day sitting in front of a computer, writing emails, putting together budgets or projects. So there's, I probably waste another 3 hours trying to do those things. Obviously, not that I make a lot of money, but I guess more money, more problems kind of situation. But you're definitely, I have a lot, sometimes someone will come up to me, it'll be like a dentist, and they'll say, oh, I want to transition to being an artist. And so I say, well, what do you do now? They're like, well, I'm a dentist, 3 or 4 days a week, and the rest of the time I'm like traveling, doing residencies, making art. I'm like, no, just keep doing what you're doing. Like you're living the dream already. But I want to also respect people that say that they want to do that. But it's a lot of work, and you have to. Some advice I often give people too is to just keep doing it, because I think when you not to say that people don't need art, because I think people do need art in their life, but if you make shoes and you take a 6-month break from making shoes, you can go back and make shoes and people will still want your shoes and need your shoes. Whereas as an artist, I think it's really important to just keep going, and there's nobody that's ever going to say to you the world needs your art, keep going, people need your art. So you need to just keep making things, maybe it's not physical, maybe it's thinking through things, but you need to keep in the process, because I've seen so many people, teachers, peers, people that stop making stuff themselves for a period of time, and I think it's harder to get back into it. It's really hard. So that's, it's like a keep going, you can do it kind of a thing, I guess.
I'm tired, so I'm going to, take that advice and keep going anyways.
And Leslie, what about you? I know you don't tend to do the daily, I'm going to work a little bit.
No, I tried for so long to, try to, be a normal person and do things regular and, do some of this every day and do this every day. I can't do that. I finally gave up, and I kind of binge do things. It just works for me. It just is so much better, but it's, sometimes difficult, but so I'll work on a project, really hard, and I just want to stay in it. I just want to keep doing it. But then, like you say, admin, right? You got to do admin. I can't believe it. That stuff, it's gets in the way. But it's a necessary thing that we have to do. So yeah, my day doesn't look, it looks different all the time. Like might be going into my studio, into the shop, and working for a week. Or then we have to do all this other stuff and social media and stuff. I find it so hard to do that stuff. But if you don't do it, I don't know. What do you do? So I think it's important for people to embrace how they function and how they work. And I guess that's the hardest part, is to recognize that. Recognize what fits your personality. Yeah.
I appreciate that you binge. There's definitely sometimes you just need to dive in deep. I'm curious if you've ever experienced being creatively stuck, and what you've done or tips that you might have to get out of that.
I don't get stuck.
You always have ideas.
I have too much. It just keeps on going. I can't stop it. I don't know how to stop it.
Okay, so then let's flip that. For those who have so many ideas, what advice would you give to them when you're just like, I have so much, and maybe there's not enough time to do it all?
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I don't know if I've got it right, but I just have to, I do the binge thing. Maybe that's why that works better for me, because then I focus and I'm, I want to do that thing, whatever it is I'm working on, and the other stuff I can let go of. But I have a lot of trouble with it.
Not you, Dad.
I think kind of similar, I guess. I don't feel like I get stuck, but I think also part of that is to just keep in motion. And also what I do, I always write down ideas when I have them, no matter how, my first advice whenever I'm giving workshops for people and they're trying to come up with ideas is just write down the stupidest idea you can possibly think of, and make a list of 10 stupid ideas, and then it usually ends up that one or two of them are actually great ideas, So I always write down ideas. So I do have a document I can go back to and see okay, which of these am I interested in? But I always have a couple that I kind of wanted to do. I think there's a Venn diagram that I love that's two people know what Venn diagram is, two circles, and then the middle. So in the middle it says artist, and then on the one side it says absolute narcissism, and on the other side it says crippling self-doubt. It's my absolute favorite. So I think you kind of deal with that, and that's what can kind of stop you sometimes from going. But often you have to. I also find that I try not to. Sometimes I think artists with just a bachelor's degree are actually can be more famous or popular. I think I'm sure Damien Hirst just has a bachelor's degree, but he just does the same thing over and over and over, and doesn't question it, doesn't think about it, and just goes. Maybe I'm underselling Damien Hirst, but anyway, I think when you go to a master's, what you make starts changing, and you start questioning yourself and thinking about it. And I did a PhD, so it makes it even worse. But I think sometimes you need to produce and just keep going and kind of trust your instincts that of course come from your education, come from the art you've absorbed, come from things you've read, movies you've seen. But when you're producing, sometimes you need to not second guess yourself until you've gotten a little way along, So when I'm finished a project, I can go back and think about it and write about it. But I think if you question yourself too much as you go, it makes it harder to keep moving.
Actually, it just gave me a good idea. I'm gonna not write things down, because then maybe then I won't have all those other ones distracting me.
That's funny. I'm gonna just throw in another one. I tend to write everything down, and then just go back, and I'm like, oh wow, I've had this idea for 10 years. Yeah. I think I actually need to do it now. And so, maybe there's a few different ways, but just dive in. Yeah. Dive in. What holds you both? What anchors you both in your art practice? Why do you stay in the art milieu? Why don't you become a dentist? Why are you artists?
I kind of wonder that too sometimes. Maybe it'd be better to do something else. I'm a little bit tired right now with just so many projects going on, but yeah, I can't not be in it. I mean, I think for me, of course I have, goals that I want to have happen, but personally I have to do it. I have to make art to process, what's going on in the world. It's my way of dealing with it. I don't know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You have spoken to me before about how important it is for you to kind of like use art in order to get to these bigger issues in the world and be able to like feel like you're doing something, right? And
yeah, because what can we do? I don't know. It's the only way I can see to do something, and I hope that it makes a difference. But how do you know? It's like you don't really know.
Put your head down, keep doing it.
Yeah, keep doing
somebody
it.
will have a feeling. Yeah. Dad?
I think it was Heather in the last talk was talking about like a high school teacher, and for me, as so many artists I know, that's a big part of it. Is like a lot of the students don't care, and then you have an art teacher, and they like open that cupboard in the back and give you like paper and art supplies over summer, and you're like, whoa, okay, and it's like someone believing in you and like giving you the supplies to do it. So for me, that was a big kind of a push, and I think I'm seeing with my own kids now, like just these little things that happen when you're young kind of push you in a certain direction or should give you support to do something. It's I guess to just keep doing things. I mean, one of yours is like, I don't think I have a good reason for why I do it and not something else, but I think in terms of, there was a question before, and I think part of this panel is kind of like how to get your art out there, or how to, I don't know, build your CV or that kind of thing. I was in my my videos were really what helped me do that, because I could burn DVDs back in the olden days and send those like around the world in the mail, and so that enabled me to say, oh, I'm in a show in Munich, where really I had just mailed a DVD to Munich and they put it on a projector or something. And so I think for artists to try and figure out how they can get out, and it's always, I'm sure you've seen the same thing here, but this was in Vancouver or in Montreal, but when you say, oh, I'm in if you send some small thing to somewhere else, and then you can say, I'm in this show here, people always love to hear that. And as an artist, I guess in that crippling self-doubt, those little things of like little signs of support or little, I don't know, things you can tell your friends about are useful and keep you going.
Exposure is actually what I wanted to talk about next, so that was a great segue. Thank you. I'm curious, like for you, staying in the art world is really important to you, and so like what steps? Actually, I'm gonna shift slightly. How you're represented? You have gallery representation. So, how did you get gallery representation, and how has that helped you?
Sure, it's helped me a lot. In my when I did my master's in Montreal at Concordia, there was a artist, Alexandre Castonguay, who I think now teaches mostly, and we did a project together, and he was represented by Gallery Pierre-François Ouellette in Montreal, and so I kind of knew about the gallery from going there, and so I approached I think it was really important. I think it was Sarah said on the last panel about we're public servants, come show us your stuff, harass us, don't take no for an answer. So I was glad to hear that. But don't harass Sarah, but I did harass Pierre-François, I think, and I brought him a bunch of work, but one really important lesson that it taught me later on, this after he represented me, was you showed me too much stuff. And so for someone like me, and I think for a lot of artists, you're stuck in your cave making what you make and you're happy about it, and when you have the chance to show someone, you want to show them everything. And so to pick what you're gonna see. I find I also do a lot of, I know a lot of artists like to finish something before they show it, but I'll show my quarter finished projects to everybody I know, and I'll get feedback, and I find that super useful to me in terms of what to do, and people get ideas, and you don't have to take all that advice. But if I'm working on a sculpture and I'm a third done, I'll show it to everybody, and I'll get feedback that's actually useful to me. Sorry, what was the original question?
How has gallery representation been beneficial to you?
So it's been great. I mean, I'm lucky. I'm with Pierre-François Ouellette in Montreal and Equinox Gallery in Vancouver, and both of them, I'm not their biggest seller probably for both of them, but they've both been really supportive, and my practice is all over the place. And so people always say to me, they don't push you, because I think people hear a nightmare of like a gallery pushing you to do one thing and getting angry when you do something else. But I haven't had that, luckily, with either of them. So gallery representation is great because I don't know. Canada, I find, is somewhat difficult because in Canada we have like government funding for a lot of arts, which is fantastic. But what it also does somehow is it creates these like structures of like approval that have to be met. And so when you go places that don't have that support, you can like take an empty storefront and put an exhibition together, or put on your own exhibition or something like that. Whereas in Canada, that stuff's kind of more frowned upon. So it's a bit difficult. So here, gallery representation is obviously very, very useful. But yeah.
And Leslie, your like success for you is a little bit different when that like you're caring about the impact on or like spreading the word about the environment. And so for you, like what does exposure look like for you, or what steps have you taken to
Well, so we have to have some way to make a living, so we have to have some galleries. And so it's with people that like my work, they just carry it in their gallery. Smaller, much smaller scale sort of a thing. But so like you say, my work tends to be not really, or at least the stuff that I like to work on, the bigger projects, are not really a saleable thing. And so, what was your actual question?
Yeah, it's about exposure and like how you like spread word about your practice.
So actually, the Yukon is really great at helping artists. I think that's really important for local artists to see. Like Mary recently, well, actually last year, but that's pretty recent, connected me with the Chinese Canadian Museum, the CEO, and so I'm going to be doing an exhibit down there in Vancouver. So I think just using our local people, I mean, it's so hard because we're just these people way up here, and we don't have access to that market. Well, I mean, sure, yes, we do, like everybody else, but I don't know. It just seems like it's really hard to get your work down south. So I think, using our system that we have up here and the people that we have up here is really valuable. Yeah.
You've also talked about the importance of how international residencies have been for your practice.
Oh yeah, forgot about that. Yeah, the Nepal thing. I went and did that residency. It was a 1-month residency up at 12,000 feet. It was absolutely fantastic, and of course, it's all international tourists that come through there. It was just fantastic. And then I don't know what it is. It must be a little bit of that, but then maybe they're quite organized and they promote their previous artists in residence, and so lots of spin-off things from there have come along. So I think those things, I just feel like maybe they got to be the right residency though, because some haven't produced anything, but others have been really great to get you out there, and then people actually coming to me. I was really surprised, up here.
Right.
So it was pretty nice. Yeah.
Do you have any residencies you're looking forward to upcoming?
So I did 2 this summer.
Oh yeah.
Here locally. So and then I only half finished one because of some family stuff. So I'm looking forward to going back to the Kluane Research Station. So
yay.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, but I have enough to do. I've got this installation in Vancouver. I'm going to have to spend a month there. And so, like, for us up here, it's hard to do an installation down in Vancouver because now I have to go for a month to do this down there. Like, it's not, and especially in Vancouver, it's really expensive. So, yeah, it's harder to do from up here for sure.
Do you want to talk about that, being an artist? Like, any tips you have for artists that are like here but trying to do stuff elsewhere?
Well, the only way I'm making it work is like funding. Like, I think our funding programs are really good up here, and just use your network, because that's how I can afford to stay there for a month. Is luckily, I've gotten a nice offer for accommodation. So. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's easy, but that would be my advice, is those two things. Yeah.
A dad, how do you like to balance, because you talked a bit about having, you want to make art, but then you're doing all this admin. What about balancing creativity with like the reality of finances?
Oh,
You talked a bit about flexibility.
yeah. I suppose I'm just thinking back. I used to organize exhibitions, and I used to. This is a roundabout way of talking about it, but for the invite card, I would go to the printer and ask the standard sizes are, and then make it for that, rather than have some crazy idea and then go to the printer and say how much to make this crazy thing. So I think partly like figure out your budget, figure out what you can afford to spend on something, and kind of try, a lot of young artists, I think, sometimes kind of are working on these huge, ambitious projects, which is great, but also like harder to finish or harder to then tour around. So for instance, if I was lucky enough to be in Nepal doing a residency, I would make sure that whatever I did, I would think, oh, I want to make sure this will fit in my suitcase so I can take it home and then tour it around or something like that. So just kind of thinking about logistics. And then how, so that you can, and not that you have to get out of this community or another community, but if that's your desire and if you want to do that, then to think about in your process, because I think ideas can be expressed in different mediums, and different ideas work better in different mediums, I think. I always try and kind of have the idea first and then think about, okay, what medium will is being expressed in. But I think, if you consider the finances up front, and at the, I think for a lot of artists maybe aren't good at thinking through finances, but and again, that's where call a friend works great. You could ask someone hey, does this seem feasible? And whatever they say back to you, whatever their questions are, they'll help you to refine, and then you can figure out if it makes sense and how you can then, and back to the last panel also, pictures of things are so important, especially these days. I came up when you had to send slides out, but now you can send an email or contact someone on Instagram. So having good images to then get your thing out. But yeah, consider your budget kind of as part of the creative process, I guess.
Yeah, pictures of things. Wow. There was, from that Nepal experience, because of the photograph that I took of one of the pieces, a Swedish composer wanted it for his album cover. And so now, and then it's kind of started to turn into something else, and maybe we'll do something collaborative together on another idea I have about snorkeling.
Fun. I love it.
Following up on that, I think collaborations and community groups and peer groups, that's super important, because that's kind of the engine that can keep you going, and those are the people you run your ideas past, and they're the people who will help lift you up or suggest you to friends or introduce you to people. So I think artists have to, some artists are not good at getting out and meeting people and talking to people, but I think that's for better or worse a part of the job.
And Dad, don't you sometimes work with quite a few people, non-professionals, on these kind of many month-long productions? How do you juggle all of that?
Right. well, it's sort of like what you were saying. First of all, I never do it for over like 3 weeks because I probably couldn't keep the energy up. But we basically work like 12, 14-hour days and just go nonstop. The people volunteering don't. They come whenever they want to. But myself and sometimes my assistant Russ will work nonstop. And then you're running on fumes. You're just keeping going. You have people relying on you, and I'm trying to make sure everyone has fun and well fed. So you just put one foot in front of the other.
Okay, I'm gonna ask one more question and then we'll go to everyone else. But I'm curious, just because we have those voices in the back of our heads sometimes that are like, who do you think you are making this, or are you good enough, and all of those, and how do you keep joy? How do you keep the playfulness in your practices? That's a question for both of you.
Well, I definitely have those voices. Even before, like, for example, when I started to dabble in your area, and I did this piece for an exhibit up here, and it was called Immersion, and it was a video installation. So, I mean, I started in photography and visual stuff, long time ago, but I kind of left it. Anyways, I did this installation that you physically put on a lab coat, and you can perform yourself in the installation. You can see yourself in the mirror. And just before it, I went, oh my God, is this like a really hokey version of what do you call it? Not the 3D thing. Oh my God, now I've lost the word. No, yeah, kind of, the
VR?
Yeah, VR. Yeah, was this a really hokey version of VR? I went, oh my God. But, worked out okay. Yeah. I think you can't not have those things, especially if you're exploring something new. Yeah, and I mean, I guess if it works for you and it's fun, then there's going to be some people out there that enjoy it too. Yeah. I think that's the way to look at it.
Thank you.
I think for being an artist, being on the edge of kind of massive failure is part of the thrill. You have to embrace it.
Thanks for those questions. I want to turn it to audience questions, but I also want to just comment on that as a creator myself, a maker, I feel that it's those times when you're most scared, like you just have this feeling in the pit of your stomach, oh my God, is this going to work or not? And then you just go for it anyways. And 90% of the time it works, and it's amazing. And if you don't have that fear, you're not taking the risk. I just think it's natural to have that fear and that worry. Is it ever going to work? So just do it. So I want to turn the floor over to questions. There are a lot of artists in the audience, so I'm sure you have lots to ask or to share. So, yes.
First of all, my name is Rhoda Merkel, and every artist in this room hopefully have met me because I have hired you. I feel like the artist that got to be the curator of workshops, festivals, and artists in the school. And it's emotional for me because it's been over 20 years of devoting my life to caring and seeing everyone survive financially. And seeing how that progress has made all of us grow together. And some of the things personally, so first of all, I'm a born and raised Yukoner. So I've got to see, I'm a member of the Tahltan Nation, a Wolf Clan member of the First Nation, the Tahltan Nation. And I have got to witness art in the Yukon in a First Nation world back in the day with Yukon Native products, and just to see the gamut of how First Nations have run and thought of how to, when we were in Yukon Native Products days, it was thriving. And then land claims came, and it kind of went, we focused on politics for so long, and it's been so wonderful now with all the First Nations coming back to the Yukon and having the time to appreciate and this revival of culture. And as an art practice, I bead, so I have no skin right here from a project of beading life-size fireweed in a show. So the second of all, I want to compliment the Yukon in so many different ways for people like Julie, but people in the past that have encouraged art in the Yukon. We are, and I was going to have some fun with you guys. So we have art communities in the Yukon. So SLAC members, stand up. Any SLAC members here? Southern Lakes Art Community. Who's in that? Joyce, stand up if you want. And I see Helen here. And I want to thank that group because with that there was some critiquing that went on, and it just grew. It made me grow. I felt like when I went in there and came back out, I got to hang out with so many amazing artists that have Sandra Story and Suzanne Polensky and I could name them all, Daphne, and it's that rubbing together that we get to do because we are friends and we do a lot together. The Odd Friday group, thank you Heidi for organizing that. There's many people, like many different groups, and not to take too long, but I also want to thank the Yukon government for the support that they have, for the many festivals that you share your art with. And thirdly, I believe in art and education. Like my life has been art and education for decades, and I won't say it all, but there are a few of you here that I really hope you will have the courage to stand up if you teach children in art, in education. Anyone here do that? Teach children. Right? Michelle, when did you start? Like you and I all have worked together for decades. And you were in before me, and Helen. Like we've spent many, many years teaching Yukon students art. So I commend that dedication because I think we have a unique culture. I've been around Canada, and the art and education and with artists in the school is second to none. Like we get quality time in the schools with kids, and I commend everybody who devotes their entire life to art, no matter what it is. So, to artists and all of us who make it happen.
Thank you, Rhoda. Did anyone else have any questions for Haddad and Leslie?
One of the biggest problems I see for artists is the business side. And you talked about 2 to 3 hours a day answering emails and creating budgets. And I just was hoping that you might talk a little bit more about that. Like and the other part is the making money part versus the expressing my soul part. And I've often wondered, for example, about fashion designers, because they will have their prêt-à-porter, their garments that go to stores everywhere, and they will have their haute couture, which is, the stuff they put in the high-end fashion shows. And I've wondered if that model might work, especially when you're coming down to that budgeting.
For me, it's all haute couture. No, just joking. I think, some people are better maybe at the business side of it than others. I guess that's where I would also approach someone even if in another field or another artist would be fine to get some advice. Artists are maybe historically not the best at keeping track of stuff and keeping paperwork and receipts and that kind of stuff. So that's something I'm always telling my kids, keep all your receipts, keep all your receipts. There's certainly many ways to do it and many ways to make money. And kind of the museum world or the fine art gallery world is probably not actually the best, like, there's probably people that make, like, mass market stuff is probably a better way to actually make a lot of money. I don't know, because that's not what I do. Yeah, I think maybe what you're talking about is like some kind of like, I don't know much about business, but maybe like market analysis or something, like thinking about what you're doing and who, because I think if you're changing what you're doing in order to try and sell it, I feel like that never works, or I haven't seen it work well, or maybe they're hiding it well. But I think it's better to produce what you want to produce, make what you want to make, and then try and figure out how you could make money from that. So, and again, ask friends. So look at what you're doing. Am I making paintings, and does this belong in a tourist shop where lots of people come through town and I might sell a bunch at $300 each, or does this belong in a gallery where it would be $3,000, I'll sell fewer of them. So you have to like think about where your work belongs, and again, think about will I operate in a grant milieu? Will I operate in a so that's, I think, kind of looking at your own work or getting other people to look at it and thinking about how you could possibly, because there's people in the art world that make money from audio, people that make money from ephemeral stuff, people that make money from everything. But I think, it's hard because everybody needs to survive, but also I think as soon as you start tailoring your practice to money, it's not going to work very well, I think, but I could be wrong.
One other way is to add administrative things, like, organizing events, or like we just did this wearable art show, and it doesn't bring in a lot of money, but it helps, right? So yeah, that can also help a lot. I saw a message in the back, or a question, but I have one more thing to add to that, is for things like grants and I think even like paperwork and stuff, teaming up is amazing. Like writing your own grant is super hard. Writing a grant sometimes for somebody else is easier. So like if you can put together a team of 2 people, 3 people, and you get together, like it helps you focus, and you can look at each other's things in the moment. So I find that's really important. And also the most important thing I've given some workshops on like grant writing, and people always think that they have to, write full of art, speak or write in a certain way, but really you want to just get across your idea as clearly as possible in a readable way. And for a layperson, I would say. And nothing does that better than having other people read it before you submit it. So I'm a big proponent of like, same with like, cleaning up your garage. I can clean up your garage better than you can do it yourself, and then you can come clean up my garage. So like kind of teamwork stuff.
Thanks. There's a time for 1 or 2 more questions, and I did want to point out.
Can I throw something in as well? I'm
Sure.
just gonna actually, because you were asking about finances, I just wanted to also say that Nicole Bauberger, I believe, put together a course on creative ways to make money as an artist, and so just throwing that out there as a local connection.
There was someone in the very back.
Okay, so just there's the questions in the back, and I just also wanted to kind of give a shout out to all of the students and art educators who are here. I know Adad mentioned earlier how important his high school art teacher was, and we have a high school art teacher here, and I think many of you have been art students and in the past, and there are art students here today, so really delighted to see that. And so now I'm just going to move on to other questions. There was one at the back.
Hi there, how are you? My name is Saul. I actually work for Kayak. We had like a little delegation here that we came from Dawson. Thank you for having us. I run the Yukon Riverside Arts Festival, and any artists here that want to come there next year, Julie came this past June, so you're more than welcome. Erin also participated. Anyways, I raised my hand because this is very, very interesting to me, and I'm gonna try my best not to go into like a full anti-capitalist rant. Bear with me. But funny enough, not that you can tell by the way that I dress like a 12-year-old boy, but I actually come from a background in the fashion industry. And one of the reasons why I got away from that, even though I absolutely love clothes and costumes and the beautiful magic that comes from producing wearable art, I actually quit that world because it's extremely unethical and unsustainable. So I don't think that that's a good analogy in terms of, and actually like fashion houses make all their money from people who don't have a lot of money and buy fragrances and products that are luxury products, but they're their cheapest products, right? So that's a big illusion. That's something I can tell you in terms of as an artist. So you should always go for the haute couture, because the haute couture is art. And art is, I'm gonna try to be brief, but that's not my forte. But one thing that we're forgetting here is that our world and our relationship with art is so tainted by capitalism, by design, because before there was a whole, and in many cultures and in many different time periods, there have always been an artisan class and a group of people that specialized in all kinds of different techniques that had a place in society as such, and that was ruined by mass production and industrialization. So I don't think we should replicate that. I think we should reclaim the past in the best way, and we should also protect all these skills, following also with the revaluing of traditional skills that have been passed down that should have their place in art and should have their place in fine art, but have been demoted to crafting for so long and associated to so many things that are not seen as high art due to intentional political devaluing of things that have always been intrinsically related to art. So my position is that if you need money, rob a bank. I'll be right there with you. Never betray yourself. There's always value in what you do. And cheat the system as much as you can. Sorry. Let's bring back the Medicis. Let's bring back the Guggenheims. Let's get those patrons. And I'm now the artist in residence coordinator, and I get to meet lots of artists who are amazing. So I have this conversation all of the time, and I love to see what they say. And their attitude, especially very successful ones and the ones that have been doing it for a very long time. I had this conversation with Marita Michaelis, who's fantastic, and I was asking about applying for a grant for one of my projects. And again, the crippling self-doubt, the imposter syndrome. And I'm like, do you think this is good? And she grabbed me by both shoulders and said, Saul, it's all fake. You deserve it. Get the money. Do whatever you want with it. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Oh, well, I want to thank everybody. And I want to thank Adad and Leslie. And
Thank you, Erin.
You're welcome. And everyone, I think I'll let Julie.
And I'd like to thank Julie and David and
Yes.
Marion for his
So great.
Thank you, everyone. So just a few words about lunch and what's coming next. So we have a fantastic committee of volunteers who have helped get us to where we are at this point, and I really have to, thank them, including people who arrived early this morning and had to sweep the floor, wipe down the tables, organize the chairs and everything. Like that behind the scenes work is so critical and doesn't get appreciated and acknowledged. So really thank all of you for your help. And we have some food here for lunch. One section is gluten-free. It's clearly labeled. So if you are not gluten intolerant or celiac, please eat the other food and save the gluten-free food for those who can only eat that food. And then after we have a while, we have time to socialize and chat over lunch. But at about 1:15. we should all leave and walk towards the Yukon Arts Center gallery, because at 1:30, the 6 finalists will be giving a tour of their show, and you won't want to miss that. So please, enjoy the next hour, enjoy the show, and hopefully most of you are coming tonight for the celebration evening at the Art Center. The evening itself starts at 6, like you have to actually be in the theater at 6. You can come as early as 5 because the art gallery will be open, so if you haven't seen the show and want to spend some time with it, please do that. So dinner, the in-theater show is from 6 till 7, and then it's followed by an amazing feast of small plates with 6 chefs, each of whom are paired with one of the 6 finalists. So look forward to seeing you all at that evening and at the other events for this afternoon. There's also another event after the tour of the by the finalists that should end around 2:30 or 3. From 2:30 to 4, the archives of the Yukon will be open. So they're actually the building that is between us here in the university and the art gallery. So you'll sort of walk by it. And so they are opening their vault and showing some of their treasures and interesting historical artifacts and art pieces. So if you have a chance, drop in to the archives. So lots of programming today. And tomorrow, of course, is the Open Studios. If you haven't thought about where you're going, the complete list of studios and maps are all on the Yukon Prize website, yukonprize.ca. So hope to see you out at these events. Enjoy.